Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and we're back with the manufacturer's highlights at Dragon Trail Seaside in Group 4. So for this race, we're driving Mercedes, and it was very much dominated by four-wheel drive cars in terms of qualifying because they were massively OP. There were some other cars that could do pretty well as well. The SLS was not the worst car, it was actually pretty solid here, but you can see straight away there we got the four-wheel drive on pole. We actually got a Mustang which was actually pretty quick over a lap, but fuel was going to be a problem with that car. We got Supra, another pretty strong car. Subaru again there, you can see, always going to be the strong car, the four-wheel drive cars. Now we've got an SLS there with a pretty solid lap, 45.0. We didn't quite hit a perfect lap, we did a 45.195, so yeah, a little bit off pace, but in P7, not bad from where we are. Mercedes was definitely a strong-ish car for this track. Now this isn't one of my favourite tracks, it's always been a bit of a, one of them tracks for you that you just don't really gel with, so P7, potential to get some points. Our target for this week's race at this track was 300 points. If we could get that, we were going to take it and move on and then go on to the next round, which is going to be Interlagos in Group 3. Looking forward to that one a little bit more than this one. So following behind, we've got the four-wheel drive Evo, I think it is there in front of us. Is that the Evo actually? Rather, yeah, that's the Evo in front of us, not the Subaru. Might have said Subaru before, but yeah, that is the Evo. We're following behind now in P7 in the SLS. Now the SLS was pretty strong through certain parts of this track, I have to say. There was just certain parts where the traction of the four-wheel drive really made a difference. Now for this race, there was a compulsory tyre change. I think you had to do a stop, change tyres, so you had to use the medium and the hard tyres in this race, and there was some fuel savings, so you had to pick how you wanted to drive this race, whether you went flat out, pitted early and then put the hard tyres on, or if you save fuel to get an extra few laps out of the tyres. Now I'm in this position here, I decided to go for kind of a mixture strategy, so just stay in the slipstream, a little bit of short shifting, maybe use a bit of mixture 2 and 3 every now and then just to save a bit of fuel, and try and get the 10 laps out of the medium tyres. That will enable me to get that one extra lap to, if I push, that will mean 1.2 to 1.3 seconds quicker on that lap as well, because you're on the medium tyres, and also it'll be a little bit shorter time in the pits because you're putting a little bit less fuel in. So that was a strategy that I was going to go for because we were behind this slipstream here. Now we hit the wall on the def chicane, so def chicane got me pretty much lap 1 of the day and caused me some damage. You can see that instant damage when we clip the wall. With this new damage model, it's very aggressive. Tiny little contact with the wall and you've got damage. Now luckily, when you only hit the wall like that, if you're in the slipstream, you can normally hang with them. You can see I'm able to stay in that slipstream, just rev it out a bit more, and we should be okay with the advantage we've got from that extra pace from the slip. You can see he's pulling away though, but it should repair before the corner. You can see there, the repaired itself, and now our damage is all better. We don't have any more damaged cars. So we're going to have to be cautious on that def chicane because that is a corner that will punish you with the slightest little mistake on this combination. So we're skipping ahead till lap 2 now, and we're going to see if we can get this def chicane a little bit better this time. So coming through to the chicane, we're a little bit further back this time so we can see the corner a little bit better, and this time we get away without hitting it and we're through there nice and cleanly. So 1-1 now. So we're going to skip to lap 3, halfway through here, and you can see we're still in the slipstream. Now you can see up in front of us, there was a lot of battling going on, so you can see myself moving the mixture to level 3 every now and then. Now this is a good idea because with these battling so much, we're probably not going to get past 3 cars and pull away. I felt like it was a better idea just to do some short shifting, so you're going to see me shift very early and just save some fuel while we're in this situation, because I could use fuel up, I could go 100% aggressive. The likeliness is we might gain 1 position. We're very unlikely to get past all 3 cars in front of us. So I just decided to do a little bit of short shifting and mixture change to 3, save a bit of fuel at the end of the rev range. It might just come in handy at the end of the race, you never know. Or it might just, you know, it can all factor into a position that you can gain over another position. But you can see they're fighting up ahead, they're switching positions, but no one's really gaining anything. Now, I thought at first, I thought this SLS might be on the medium tyres the same as us, but looking at how easy people are able to, you know, attack him, I did start having a little bit of a thought that, you know, maybe he's not on them tyres because his qualifying time was pretty good, and I'm saving fuel here, and he seems to be struggling. So it was coming into my mind that possibly that Mercedes was on the hard tyre, and possibly some of the other cars ahead of us were also going to be on this hard tyre. Now, with them, if they started on the hard tyre, they're in a very good position, and we're not so much in a good position because medium tyres used first. The medium tyres at the end are going to be a lot faster, But the advantage is they're probably using a lot of fuel to get that pace out of the hard tyre. So that's probably what they're doing. Pushing, hoping to pick up someone saving fuel, and pushing them hard tyres to get better lap times out of them. Now that is a really good strategy. If you can make that strategy work, that strategy will gain you a lot of positions in races in Group 4. It's, you know, we did it a lot on GT Sport. It can really, really work. So let's see how this works out as we come back into the braking point again. It's very close racing. We've got side-by-sides up ahead of us. Not really much point battling this through here. So again, we're just going to short shift the car and try and save that fuel. So you can see, shifting about 50%, save a bit of fuel, and just take it cautious through this depth chicane, because this corner, one little hit of that curb wrong, like again, they're so close. Luckily, this time, we just about managed to save it without hitting the wall, but we lost quite a bit of speed, but luckily we didn't get any damage. But again, through this corner now, we look up ahead. Now, as we come through here, we see that P5 takes an undercutting line, but just clips the Subaru in front of him. And that is the Subaru out of the race. Really unfortunate for that Subaru there. I don't think Pock meant it, but yeah, a little bit naughty. He did clip him, and yeah, not too sure what to think of that one. It looked, I don't think it was a deliberate takeout, but it was a little bit naughty. But that puts us up into P4 now and gains us 2 positions. And that Mercedes in front of us, if he is on the hard tyres, he will be loving seeing that, because yeah, that is going to be a massive advantage for him. Now, you can see we skip ahead now to the end of lap 5. And we see that he takes an unusual line there. This made me think he probably is on the hard tyres. And yep, he goes off into the pits. And that really caught me out. I have to say, I wasn't 100% sure at the time when we were racing. I was like, is he on the soft? Is he on the mediums? Is he on the hard? Turns out he's on the hard tyre. So we're going to probably find it very difficult to be competing with that driver. But we're going to keep going. We might have saved a bit more fuel than him, because we were obviously doing a bit of fuel saving in that slipstream. And we're going to skip to lap 6 now. And we're trying to obviously push a bit more. You can see we go over the line with a personal best lap. That shows you how much we were getting held up. You can see the lap times were quite a bit off. So we were losing quite a bit of pace by saving fuel and then battling. But we didn't really have much of an option, because there wasn't really much point to get involved with them, start fighting them. All of us lose time if we fight. This race was kind of about, you know, strategy, saving that fuel. Keeping the tyre, you know, the tyre wear wasn't really an issue, but keeping the tyres on the car for that extra lap made quite a big difference in terms of that one lap, because the hard tyres were about, I think they're about 1 second a lap at least slower if you're pushing 100%. I think 45.7s and 8s were, you know, with no slipstream, okay on the mediums. 46.7s were pretty okay on the hard tyre with no slipstream. So yeah, about a second difference in terms of race pace without a slipstream, but if you're in a slipstream, obviously you gain quite a lot. Now we can see the Evo right behind us there, pushing us along here. That Evo is going to be very quick at this track. It's another 4-wheel drive car, and he's going to go for a very big lunge up the inside here. And I saw it coming, and again, I thought, I'm not going to fight it, because if we fight that, we both lose time. So I kind of just hang it on the outside. You can see I'm actually lifting off the throttle to try and get him back into the racing line, because I don't want to go side by side through the death chicane. That would literally be death for both of you. So we're just going to lift off the throttle here, just give a bit of a gap, make sure we get through here nice and smooth. We don't want to take any risks while we're that close to another car through there, and we get through there comfortably. You can see we've got quite a big gap to Rami. He started quite far back. He's done well to get himself up to P4. I'm not too sure whether that's because of strategy or whether that's because where he is, but he's about 6.4 seconds behind. And now we just need to focus, really, try and drive some clean laps behind this Evo. And what I decided to do is make sure I can stay in the slipstream, but try and save fuel at the same time, because we want to get them 10 laps out of this car, just so that we can obviously gain the extra lap on the medium tyre. So we're going to skip ahead now to lap 9, and you can see as we're coming through the final corner, the Evo is going into the pits. He's going to take his pit stop, because he's probably not saved enough fuel yet. He goes in the pits with what percentage? 5%. We've got 14%, so we've got basically a whole lap extra fuel in the car. So that's pretty good for us. However, the pit lane refueling was very, very quick for this round, which meant that you didn't lose much time refueling. If it would have been a bit slower, that could have gained us about 1 to 2 seconds just in the pit stop, and we've got the medium tyres for this lap, which could have been a big advantage. So we skipped to lap 10, going through the chicane, and you can see we're actually on a better lap again. Now that we've got no one in front of us, and we can push for this rest of this lap, we're on a pretty decent lap. We're probably getting close to a 45 on this lap, and we're going to pit this lap though. Make sure you're being very careful that pit lane entrance. The pit lane entry on this track is extreme. You have to be very careful you don't pick up the 3-second penalty. So into the pits, fuel's going to go in really quick with the refueling, and out the pits we come. And you can see that we're going to come out just behind the people that pitted quite early. That Ford obviously had to put a lot of fuel in at his pit stop, And now we've got the SLS. I was quite surprised to actually come out side by side with that SLS because he's been on the medium tyres. It shows you that he was gaining a lot of his pace through being in the slipstream, but now he is probably going to be able to push right to the end. I've got to do a bit of fuel saving. Unfortunately, I didn't put enough fuel in to go aggressive for this last stint. I really should have done. I think I should have put an extra 3 or 4% worth of fuel in just so I could push and really drive these hard tyres aggressive, but I wanted to come out ahead of that Evo, so I went a bit aggressive and didn't put enough in really there. So we're going to have to short shift a bit to get this car to the finishing line, and that's going to make it very, very hard to stay in the slipstream with 2 cars pushing on them medium tyres. But yeah, let's see what we can do as we work our way back up to the def chicane section. We can see the car behind. That Evo is back into our slipstream, so we did get the jump on him with that strategy. However, he is now in the slipstream, and I'm not too sure if he's got a little bit more fuel to push. And you can see now, as we're coming out the traction zone, you can see that they are starting to pull away a little bit. They're nearly a second clear of us. And yeah, they're going, looks like they're going pretty much 100% on the medium tyres. Their strategy is go 100% aggressive, and I do think that was possibly the fastest way. However, like I said, we were in an awkward position starting on the medium tyres. Maybe we should have started on the hard tyres and went ultra aggressive. But, you know, we're in this position now. We're going to skip to lap 12. We're going to start lap 13. 2 laps to go now. We're still ahead of Pock. You can see the cars in front have managed to pull away, and we're in P4. We're actually in quite a good position for me at this track. I'm not particularly good here, so I was actually pretty happy with how this race has gone. You know, we've got 2 laps to go. Can we hold on to a P4, which should be at least 300 points, definitely in this lobby? I think it was about, looking at the lobby, I guessed it would be about 360 to 360, 370 maybe maximum points in this lobby. So P4 should be enough to be over 300 points. So let's see what we do as we work our way into this second right-hand corner, the 2 right-hand corners in a row, trying to get that good exit from there. And you can see the Evo, he is getting close in some corners, but I did notice on the hard tyres, the SLS was particularly strong in certain corners. In these fast-flowing corners on the hard tyres, the SLS looked pretty good through here. You can see as we come through here, we can keep that gap around 8. We actually gain a 10th on him through there. However, he's going to pick up that slipstream, and then the traction zone from the slower corner, this right-hander, is where that Evo is really going to be able to catch up. And then we've got obviously the def chicane, which can catch everyone out. Now we look up ahead, we can see them 2 are fighting a little bit. That's, you know, always good to see, because if they start fighting, one of them can get a penalty or crash, and you know, anything can happen when cars fight, especially going into the def chicane. So if they start fighting, good for us on the last lap. But at this moment, they've got a bit too much of a lead. There's 3 seconds in the clear. It's going to be very difficult to, you know, get anywhere near them as we work our way through the def chicane. And unfortunately for us, it was the tiniest little contact again. We grazed along that wall. However, you can see the damage again on the rear left tyre and the rear bumper, and you can see it's losing us pace. The Evo right up behind us now, that's lost us about half a second. Now this is going to mean we're going to have to go ultra aggressive with the fuel on the final lap and risk it, because you can see our fuel is 1.1, 1 lap of fuel left as we're pretty much going over the line. However, we're going to have to drive aggressive. You can see he's got the slipstream. I'm going to have to use the revs up on this car to try and hold on to P4. We've got to fight this. The damage will repair before the corner. You can see damage is better now. Going to brake as late as we can and try and hold on to the position down to second gear, try and get the car rotated in there, and we managed to just about hold on. Now we run a little bit wide out the exit there, and we're going to have to go defensive into this right hand corner. You can see that he's going to stay to the left there. We're going to take this normal line through here, and luckily we brake quite late into this corner. He's not going to be able to launch it up the inside there. We've also got a car approaching in P6, which is going to make this a little bit more intense, because we've got to defend it. I think he gave us a little bump draft there to avoid battling through here, because he probably knew if we battle through here, the car behind is going to catch up. So he bump drafts us there, and he's probably going to go for a send into the braking zone, which I was aware of. But we've got that gap at 3 tenths, 3.5 tenths there. He's going to gain a little bit on top of the hill. It's around 2 tenths now, the gap. And in the braking zone, I felt like we've got a good enough position here. We can brake quite late in the SLS, and you can see we can take our normal line into the corner, and we've managed to hold onto that position. So good defensive driving there. We're still in P4, and now it's all about the def chicane and fuel. The fuel is getting really low. I noticed this at this point. I was too concentrating on defending. We've only got 2% fuel left. This is going to be so close. You can see, you're going to start seeing I start short shifting a little bit, because I know that I'm struggling on fuel. I think it's just as we go through this tunnel here, I realise and go into 6th gear, I can see the fuel's a problem. We've got 0% fuel left, and we've got to try and get this over the line. So coasting it through here, we're not on the throttle. Now we're on the throttle. We're going to have to short shift on the exit here to try and get this to the finish. Up to 5th gear as early as we can there. Early shift to 5th. And unfortunately, just before the finishing line, we run out of fuel. And also, a car had an incident just before the finishing line. If we wouldn't have hit that wall, P3 was a possibility. I'm not sure if we ran out of fuel or had an incident, but also, yeah, if we wouldn't have hit that wall, we wouldn't have had to push. We wouldn't have lost that second that we lost by hitting the wall, and that could have been very close for P3. But unfortunately, it's P5, but the good thing, it was over 300 points, so I decided to take them points because, yeah, while I had them points in the bag, I was going to take them with the Mercedes at that track. It wasn't my favourite. The four-wheel drive cars were very strong. And, yeah, pretty happy overall to get some solid points, but it could have been a lot more. But, yeah, what a fun race. Enjoyed that one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that like button, and I'll see you for more videos in the future. Bye, everyone.